Long before Arkham made them a household name, Rocksteady gave us this, a grim, brutal riot shooter that vanished almost overnight. This is Urban Chaos, and it deserves to have a remake. This is part of my Bring It Back series, where we shine a light on games that didn't get their due, and make the case for why they deserve a comeback, whether it's a remake, a remaster, or a spiritual successor.
You do. Find whichever cop follows in and kill it.
Urban Chaos Riot Response was the first game developed by Rocksteady. It was released in 2006 for the PS2 and the Xbox. It's a linear mission-based first-person shooter where you play as Nick Mason, a member of the T-0 Riot Response unit. And the setup is pretty straightforward. The city's fallen into chaos, gangs have taken over the streets, and you're called in to support emergency services and push back violence. Most missions revolve around securing zones, rescuing civilians, and assisting firefighters or paramedics while dealing with the gang called the Burners.
Power line is shorting out. It is impossible to use the ladder.
We have access to basic firearms, a riot shield, and support options like the paramedics. There's not really a leveling system, there's no open world, just a focused shooter built around short, replayable missions. It's the only Rocksteady game not tied to DC Comics, and the only one that never got a PC release. While the Xbox version included online multiplayer, it was eventually lost when the original Xbox server shut down. And it's one of those games that quietly disappeared as the studio moved on to bigger projects, but it still holds a really interesting place as their starting point. What really makes Urban Chaos stand out is how it handles moment-to-moment combat. The core mechanic is simple, standard first-person shooter movement and gunplay, but the shield changes the entire rhythm. You're not just crouching behind cover, you're actively pushing forward. The shield feels great to use. There's this constant sense of pressure as you move into heavy gunfire, knowing you can absorb shots and keep advancing. And it never breaks, but it reacts to everything you take. Scratches, cracks, blades stuck in the surface. It actually feels like you're dragging this beat-up piece of equipment through a city that's falling apart. That flow between defense and offense keeps the pacing fast. You're not pinned down in a corner somewhere. You're moving, shield up, bash someone back, and pop off a few shots, and then push again. It doesn't feel sluggish or gimmicky, it's reactive. And transitions between melee and gunplay feel really smooth. Not every mission is high stakes, but the game does throw in some pressure with VIP rescue missions. Those are the few spots where things feel pretty tense. You're on a timer, you gotta cut through enemy lines, track down the hostage, and pull them back to the extraction point. It's straightforward, but the pacing shift works. You go from holding positions to sprinting through back alleys trying to clear a path. And overall, it's simple but effective. Urban Chaos isn't built around deep systems, it's built around momentum. Short missions, clear objectives, and a gameplay loop that feels good without dragging itself down with too many mechanics. The big mechanical hook is obviously the shield. It's the centerpiece of everything you do. But the game throws in a few other details to give it more texture. There's a non-lethal system built through the taser. It's not just a gimmick, you can actually capture enemies alive, and certain mission objectives reward you for it. It gives you a reason to think about how you clear out rooms instead of just blasting through everyone. Hostage rescues also add a bit of tension, and these are different from the VIP missions. It's a simple mechanic, but it works. You got enemies holding civilians at gunpoint, and you have to approach carefully with your shield up. If you get too close, the hostage gets executed. So you have to wait for the attacker to reload, then take them out with a clean shot. It's nothing overly complicated, but it does break up the standard flow of the room clearing.
Thanks, man.
And what probably extends the life of the game the most is the medal system. Every mission has a set of challenges tied to how you play. Things like hitting a set number of headshots, pulling off enough non-lethal takedowns, not dying and using a checkpoint, capturing the gang boss alive, or finding the collectible gang masks throughout the map. The system's tied to difficulty too, with medals available across all 3 base difficulties and a 4th unlocked after beating the game. Where it really clicks is how progression is locked behind those medals. You get upgrades by completing them, bigger ammo reserves, stronger armor, better damage. So there's a natural loop. Play through on normal, earn some upgrades, then go back to an earlier mission on hard when you're stronger. It's one of the things that makes Urban Chaos more than just a quick running gun. It gives you a reason to replay and push for mastery without needing a bunch of extra modes.
This location by gang members. Only T-0 is able to respond.
And after you finish the campaign, the game throws in a small bonus mission that is actually a nice change of pace. You play as Mason back in his home, and the gang launches a direct attack on him. You start completely unarmed and have to scramble around the house grabbing stashed weapons while fighting off enemies. It's nothing massive, it's just another extra level, but it stands out because it's a flip from the usual formula. It's just Mason defending his own ground. It's a simple addition, but it helps wrap up the game with something that feels a little more personal and keeps the momentum going after the credits. If you've been enjoying these breakdowns and want to see more of these forgotten games get their time in the spotlight, consider hitting subscribe. The whole channel is about preserving the kinds of games most people forgot about, whether it's deep dives, hidden gems, or cult classics that deserve another look. We're also getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, and every single one genuinely helps the channel grow. I appreciate everyone who's been here watching, commenting, or even just lurking. It makes a huge difference and helps keep this whole project going, and thanks for being part of it.
No! Please! No! No! No!
The part of Urban Chaos I ended up enjoying the most was getting a feel for how the shield and aiming worked together. After a while, I could predict exactly where my shots would land while still having the shield up. It let me line up the shield to block incoming fire, and then pop out just long enough to land a clean headshot before dropping back behind cover. And once you get the timing down, it makes chasing the headshot medals way easier, and adds a nice rhythm to the whole combat. And outside of that, it was just a fun game to play through. It's not trying to be overly complicated, but the medal system gives you more than just a one-and-done experience. Between the different objectives, difficulties, and upgrades, there's a lot of replay value tucked into the structure. It's one of those games where if you click with the core loop, there's plenty there to keep you going back for more. The game had a rough road to release, and honestly, it probably never stood much of a chance. The project bounced between multiple identities before it ever reached shelves. It started out in 2004 under the name Roll Call, with Argonaut Games leading development. But within a month of the announcement, Argonaut went under. The team reformed as Rocksteady, backed by publisher SCI, but the project was already in flux before it had really found its footing. Over the next year, it was renamed again, this time as Zero Tolerance City Under Fire, until a trademark dispute forced another change. By the time it launched in 2006 as Urban Chaos Riot Response, the PlayStation 3 and 360 were already on the market, and attention was shifting to the next generation of games. It didn't help that Urban Chaos never made it to PC, and didn't get much marketing. It just sort of arrived. Reviews were average, Metacritic scores sat squarely in the middle. Most people agreed it played fine, but nothing about it pushed it into must-play territory. It was a small arcade-style shooter at a time when the industry was moving toward open worlds and bigger set pieces. The timing also worked against it. Rocksteady's next game was Batman Arkham Asylum, a massive success that completely changed the studio's trajectory. And compared to that, Urban Chaos became a forgotten footnote. No remaster, no sequel, no real push to keep it alive. It's just one of those games that slipped through the cracks, overshadowed by what came after. Urban Chaos always felt like a game with more potential than it ever got to show. The bones of it are solid, especially the shield combat, but it came out late in the console cycle like we've said, had a rough development, and just kinda disappeared. It deserves another shot, but not just as a remake. This is one of those games where a spiritual successor would probably make more sense. The core rhythm of the original works. It's short, focused missions, high-pressure combat, and a medal system that actually pushes you to master the game. That's something a new version could build on. Keep that medal system, make your progression tied to how well you perform, but modernize everything around it. Give the game a proper T0 headquarters, some kind of hub where you can see all the unlocked gear, loadouts, and upgrades. Let the game feel more like you're part of a real response unit, with a base of operations that reflects your progress. Instead of one gang, it'd be interesting to see a full city map, broken into districts controlled by different gangs, each with their own personalities, fighting styles, and territories. The mass collection could expand, but not every gang would need to follow the same theme. Capturing gang leaders with a non-lethal takedown could finally have an actual purpose, maybe letting you interrogate them back at HQ, to unlock intel, hidden hideouts, or optional missions, giving more reason to approach combat tactically, not just aggressively. The interrogation system could tie into progression, unlocking upgrades or alternate ways to resolve missions. Maybe you'd gain access to special units or unlock undercover missions, going into gang territory without backup for high-risk, high-reward objectives. It doesn't need to be fully open world, but something with hub zones, more vertically, and deeper mission variety could turn the original concept into something really fresh. Focus on tighter combat, smart progression, a dynamic mission design. And there's plenty of room for a modern successor that keeps the spirit of Urban Chaos alive, without needing to fall into the open world or live service traps. And honestly, it'd just be really cool to have that sense of progression tied to something visual. Like, you finish the campaign, clear out the city, and when you walk into your headquarters, there's this whole trophy wall. All the masks you've collected from different gangs, every unique boss fight or side objective represented there. You can have your armory laid out too, every weapon you've unlocked fully displayed, with racks of guns showing your progression, and it could go even deeper. Maybe you unlock different attachments, better grips, alternate ammo types, optics, scopes, small upgrades that actually change how you approach combat. Not necessarily turning it into a full customization system, but just enough to make your choices feel like they matter. Seeing your gear grow alongside your progress. Having visual proof of everything you've unlocked. It would give the game more long-term appeal without needing to stretch it into something it's not.
Save me!
This is one of those games that just quietly slipped through the cracks. Not because it was broken or bad, but because it landed at the wrong time, with the wrong circumstances, and just didn't get the spotlight it could have earned. It's a reminder of how many games like this end up forgotten. Not because they didn't have good ideas, but because timing, industry shifts, and bigger projects just push them out of view. And that's part of why I built this channel, to make sure these kinds of games aren't just footnotes in gaming history. Even something like Urban Chaos, with its rough edges and smaller scale, has ideas worth remembering. It's a snapshot of a studio's earliest work, a type of shooter we really don't see anymore, and a game that got left behind as the industry changed around it. Not everything in the vault needs to be a masterpiece. Sometimes it's just about looking back at the stepping stones, the games that got us from one era to the next. That's the space Urban Chaos holds, an honest, straightforward action game that deserves to be remembered for what it did right, not just forgotten because it didn't become a franchise. And that's going to wrap up this entry for the Bring It Back series. Urban Chaos might not have had the biggest impact when it came out, but it still deserves a place in the vault. Just like so many other games that got overlooked. And if you've made it to the end, thank you for sticking with me and helping keep these forgotten games alive. And again, we're also getting so close to 1,000 subscribers, which honestly, it means a ton. Every comment and like, every sub helps this channel keep growing and keeps the vault going. I really appreciate all of you who've been here from the start, and everyone who's joined along the way. If you've enjoyed this one, let me know down in the comments, and if there's another forgotten game you'd like to see added to the vault, I'm always taking suggestions. And thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see y'all later.